alert to our podcast listeners. Midway through recording this episode, Lorde solar power came out, so we have some extra unhinged gay people.
Start your sublight engines. It's time for RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome back to another week of chaos. I'm Jess. My pronouns are they, them. My social media is at Kawaii Jessio on Twitter and TikTok. And my gender this week is apparently poor little meow meow, because y'all voted that I was the poor little meow meow, proving once again that I am the Crosshair of the podcast.
Not assigned poor little meow meow by our listeners.
But don't imply Crosshair's a poor little meow meow.
He's not, and I'm also not. So that's why, again, I am Crosshair.
To quote Shangela, you'll never be poor little meow meow. It will never happen.
My name is Ollie. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on most social media at OllieFresh. And my gender this week is Echo, member of Dominoes by Lorde squad.
I'm Noah. My pronouns are he, him. My TikTok is the Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week is Nalisay's certified DILF factory, because I feel like that's what Camino actually turned out to be.
Not the beach from old.
I do appreciate it. I think that's true. That's true. It is the DILF factory. There were so many DILFs that came out of there.
To be clear, it is located on the beach from old.
My name is Mal. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Grunkle Rex. And my gender this week is Joel Edgerton, aka Uncle Owen, kissing Dev Patel directly on the mouth.
As he should.
In the Green Knight.
For the Green
Knight.
Okay, it could have just been in general, but then you had to go and spoil the Green Knight.
I love the idea. Okay.
Also followed by let me give some extra context to the scene, because Dev Patel did just fuck his daughter ? Who's played
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, it's
Uncle
a lie.
Owen's daughter.
She nutted on his belt.
I'm sorry, what?
Do you guys remember how we run a Star Wars podcast?
Yeah, remember this is a Star Wars podcast. Let's keep it fun. I'm not going to explain the nut belt. You have to watch the movie to truly understand what the fuck it is.
It's an kissing Uncle Owen on the mouth.
It's an A24 movie, and I can't express nearly enough how much I did not understand the movie. Like as a podcast that we're like, oh, let's consume media critically. I think it was one, I was expecting a very different movie going into it. I just kind of forgot that it was an A24 movie and it was going to be very like arty and like discussing these larger themes. I also was like, I don't know, I just wanted to see Dev Patel have some fun being a little nighty boy, and then it was like, oh, let's get a little existential, and I was like, ugh. And then Uncle Owen kissed him directly on the mouth, and I was like, oh, now I'm back and invested, and then the movie ended.
That's what the Kenobi show won't show us.
Period.
When will Obi-Wan Kenobi kiss Uncle Owen softly on the mouth? That's my question.
My name is Klaudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Klaudia says, Kaludia says. My gender of the week is Thrawn drinking a Capri Sun.
Question, what flavor of Capri Sun?
Cherry, obviously. Anyways.
Cherry.
Noah, close your ears, because this is a spoiler for Alliances. You know the scene where he gets shot in a passion several times?
Hey, if you guys are talking right now, I actually can't hear you. I did turn my volume on.
Oh, epic. Shh. Anyways, so Thrawn gets shot in a passion, right? I do like the idea of it being a Capri Sun that keeps him alive. It's not like his cool epic armor. It's a Capri Sun.
So do we want to talk about the Bad Batch? This might be our last time talking about it for a while.
Listen, I loved the show, but I'm glad that we're free from its shackles.
Yeah, it has been quite difficult staying up until 3 a.m. every Thursday for the last 16 weeks.
So maybe the real Bad Batch were the friends we made along the way. At the beginning of this podcast, we made a TikTok that was like assigned us to Bad Batch characters. Klaudia was Tech, Noah was Echo, Ollie was Hunter, Jess was Wrecker, and I was Crosshair. But we think that we've had some character development, and I think we should do a gender reveal.
Sign Bad Batch at birth.
So maybe not. Maybe we can not do gender reveals. I don't really want half of my state to light on fire.
POV, I'm shooting myself out of a cannon. I'm revealing my gender.
The thing is, I don't really know if I can necessarily assign myself But I can definitively say that, Jess, as much as I love you, you have become the Crosshair of our podcast.
No, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Jess is constantly the contrarian. I feel like I think I said this last week. Jess is like if Crosshair was justified.
If
Like-
Crosshair was a redeemable character, that would be
that's so
Jess.
sweet. Thank
If
you.
Crosshair was not a fascist, it would be Jess.
Like if Crosshair was based, it would be Jess.
Crosshair wasn't cringe.
There were some people who remained the same though.
I think
Me.
Ollie remained. I think Ollie remained
Yeah.
as Hunter. I think that's a fair assumption.
I would agree. I think I don't really know why. I just feel like he's got something about him.
He's a lesbian.
That is true. You got it in one.
Do we think Claudia's remained as Tech?
Yes, iPad baby.
Yeah. I would argue that Klaudia has stayed Tech. I think the one that is kind of interesting is maybe our shift potentially, because I do think there is something inherently grumpy about me. That is very echoey. But I also think that to some degree, also you have some grumpiness, Noah. So maybe you're Echo. Who is to say? I think it's the 2000 born in 2000 solidarity.
To be fair, Echo is the oldest one there. That would make me Echo.
You know what's funny is that Echo is the oldest one, but he's certainly not a millennial. So
No, Echo is a millennial.
Echo is not a Echo. Echo is not a
if
Echo-
you ask Echo
Echo-
what his Hogwarts house was, he would kill you.
You say the
I
word
do-
chuggy at Echo and he fucking like obliterates you.
Listen, I do hate to say this, but I do think that the most millennial and the most likely to have a Hogwarts house is Wrecker.
I don't think that Wrecker would be like millennial, but I do think that his sense of humor never evolved past like 2011 Facebook memes.
I do
Calm
think
and carry on.
he does think Minions memes are funny, and he'll show them to Omega and be like, "You got to see this kid," and she's like, "Wow, Rika, that's great, thank you."
I do feel like Mel and I sort of share being the Echo of this podcast. I think we just trade off. Like we have a button we press and it just swaps it.
It depends on whoever talks the most, because the one who talks the least is Echo.
Yeah,
So
when
true.
one of us is talking the most, we are in our Wrecker era, and then that swaps to our Echo era when
It
we're
is-
like, we're done.
It has just occurred to me that our Rogue Ones episode was just like if Echo and Wrecker had to talk for an hour together. Because it was like, ha ha ha,
So
Katy Perry and Kassav, and then also like negative and positive peace. Our assignments have changed a little bit, but I mean, I think that's character development. I think that's growth. We did see some growth and character development with our Bad Batch characters, so that's pretty epic. I think it's time for us to kind of like enter our wrap up, talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, etc. If we have like a particular favorite moment that we want to highlight.
I would like to start with, since every episode I love to be like, I love when we predict things and then end up being right. I would like to start with like, what are things that we predicted or thought were gonna happen and then they did or did not happen?
So I made a bingo sheet when we saw the trailer for the show. The trailer. So this was just all guesses, but I did manage to get a bingo. It is on a technicality, but I will go through with it right now and explain myself. So, square one. Hunter is Space Rambo. Pretty self-explanatory. Omega ages normally. Fennec is sent after the Bad Batch. Vague Omega ending, which I think just the ending in general for the Bad Batch, like we don't know where we're assuming they go back to Ord Mantell, but we don't know what the fuck they're gonna do post that. And then this is the one that was like a little like it's more of a technicality. I said Wolf and Gregor, but we did see Gregor, so I would call that a win. I will call that a W.
You're doing really well so far.
I would say
Dave
that works.
Filoni.
Yeah, not Dave Meloni.
Dave Meloni, get out of here. I was close to a double bingo, but Dave did not get a fucking wolf in there, so.
I will say, I mean, in terms of like favorite moments, or I like to pick a favorite episode, but genuinely I cannot remember all of them that I like. There were some that I'm like, what happened in episode 11? I have no idea. But I think episode 7 is where Rex appears. And I will say that was by far one of, if not my very favorite episode. I think we got the most interesting character moments, like with the Chip storyline actually happening and like Wrecker going full evil Baymax was like a really actually like tense set of scenes, and I was like, this is cool. That was also where we got our first Bad Batch LGBT character. I do not remember the name of the tentacle monster. I'm
It's
so
called
sorry.
the Dianoga.
Also,
Yeah,
I
so
hate to break this to
Dianoga
you,
was
but
there.
our
No, and we
first
had
Bad Batch
Tarkin.
LGBTQ character was Tarkin in episode 1.
I'm not counting Tarkin. I am becoming actively homophobic towards
fact
Grandma
that-
Tarkin.
The fact that these are both characters, well, technically it's not the same Dianoga, but these are both characters that we first meet in A New Hope on the Death Star. The Death Star said gay rights.
Diversity
no.
win. The planetary destroying weapon is operated by homosexuals.
Okay, so I actually do have a fun fact about the Death Star. I think you guys are gonna find very interesting. So
That there's a jacuzzi in it?
No, okay, so there's like the laser that comes out of it, right? It is actually rainbow colored. It's just because of the old timey camera, you can only see it being, what is it, red, green? I don't fucking remember. That was supposed to be funnier than it actually was. I'm so sorry.
It was red, first of all.
It's a gayification beam. It's not the.
No,
Wait,
it's
the
that
laser,
Alderaan to
wait,
the
wait,
gay
the laser
dimension.
that leaves the Death Star that blows
Yes.
up a planet?
Yes, it's the gay agenda.
It's to turn the freaking frogs gay, but instead
I thought it was
it's the
green.
Death
Wait, am I hallucinating? That laser beam is green, right?
No,
It
it's red.
is. No,
Ollie,
it's
you're
green. It's
gaslighting the
green.
fuck out of me.
I think
right now.
Ollie might be colorblind. Let me check real quick. Let me check.
Guys, my grandpa was colorblind. If I'm
Wait,
also
no.
colorblind, hey,
The-
what
the
color? If
laser
I'm
beam.
red, green colorblind right now, I'm really worried because that's
The
no
laser
good.
beam that comes out of the Death Star and blows up, like when it
It's
blows
green.
up Jeddah. It's
Hold
green.
on.
Wait, no, Ollie, do you actually think this is red?
Shit, it's green.
We're gatekeeping.
What the fuck? Why is it green? Why isn't it red? Red's
How
bad
did you think it was
color.
red?
Because red's bad color.
Yeah,
The
but a
TIE
lot of the
fighters all shoot
lasers.
green.
Yeah, all the lasers that they shoot are green except for a
All the
couple
lightsabers they
blasters.
shoot are green.
No,
TIE fighters
but-
shoot lightsabers,
but-
actually.
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, doesn't it make sense for it to be red? Because red evil. In
No,
Star
this is
Wars.
There's a Star Wars.
No, but the
Nothing makes
lasers
sense.
of the rebellion are red.
Well, maybe because there's
Anyway,
bad
I
people
love
on
the
both
TV
sides.
show The Bad Batch.
Anyways, let's get back to this fucking. I can't believe that we did. I don't know how to describe that. Did Ollie gaslight gatekeep girl boss themselves, or did we gaslight
I
gatekeep girl boss
think-
them?
No,
They were
it's just that
gaslighting me for a second because they were like, no, it's a red laser beam. And I was like, it's fucking not. My point is that I like that episode a lot. And it was a good episode and it was a fun time. I do wish that Rex had shown up more than like the hologram of him a little bit later. And also, I just want to put out there, I kind of wish that Fennec Shand was like a character. She showed up like what, twice?
She's
And I was
coming
like-
back.
But I know, but I'm like, Bestie, where were you? Like, return.
that actually does bring me to my favorite moments. My favorite episodes, I think, are episode 4, Cornered, and episode 9, Bounty Lost, because both of them feature Fennec Shand. And I don't think that's the reason that they're my favorite episodes. I think it's just because I really liked I like the episodic plot of them. Like, I feel like I didn't feel like I was waiting for the next episode to see what happened. Like, the plot was enjoyable of those episodes. And now I'm like, how much of that was because Fennec Shand was there?
I am a Fennec stan, but I did also like those episodes a lot because I felt
Yeah.
like they actually like moved the plot forward, which was something I liked in the episodes where that happened.
I also did want to say the episode that I think that, like, I feel like we have not talked about it for a while, was episode 2, Cut and Run. Cut LaQuaine is,
That was very
like,
special.
I also have a very deep, weird connection to that man, because I remember watching that episode of the Clone Wars. Like, I must have watched that like 20 times when I was a kid. For some reason, I just loved that episode. And seeing that man again made me feel like so excited and so like looking forward to the rest of the show. Like, it really set a tone. And he did give Hunter that little green number, which I'm obsessed with. So yeah, I feel like those are probably my top 3 episodes.
Are you sure it was green? Could it have been red? Just out of curiosity.
I feel like now that I've been rewatching things like the Clone Wars and Rebels, when I think about the cut and run episode, knowing what we know that happens later in this season and probably what's going to happen in later seasons, I feel like the cut and run episode, in the way that it's very wholesome and also has very good early Hunter and Omega moments. It's like, you know, it's her little, like, that's the first time seeing the sun moments and all this kind of stuff. And also, like, you know, that she's, like, doesn't want to get left behind and everything. Like, I feel like it's going to be extra heartbreaking to watch the further we, to rewatch the further we go. And it's going to have a lot more meaning, much like some things that occur in Rebels. So yeah, I feel like that one's gonna have a special place in my heart a little bit. But I would say overall, the Ryloth arc, stellar shit. But I think the one that's my favorite, like, of this series, and that was the one, I think I said it in that episode, it was the one where I was like, oh, this show is about Omega and the rest of them are the supporting characters, was the one where we find out what she is, where we find out that she's Boba was Alpha.
Hey, that is episode 9.
It sticks in my mind, especially visually it sticks in my mind, because it's like the identity episode, just like Empire. And again, Fennec Shand, and Cad Bane, like there was so much plot stuck in there, but also a lot of character moments for her, and it just, it very much stuck in my brain, but yeah, I mean, the Ryloth episodes had little moments like, you know, Hera and Omega being besties that make me want to sob when I think about it, but yeah, I think that, like, of overall, like, quality, I'm going to say episode 9.
My favorite episode is also probably episode 9. Mainly because we did get that one crumb mention of Boba Fett, but also just because, I don't know, something about that episode was really fun. I could probably rewatch that episode several times. There was, like, I felt like a good mix of, action and drama and some fun lore drop that made it be like nice chef's kiss.
It's a good mid-season finale.
Oh yeah, that was kind of like the mid-season, or
only the one before, because that was the one
that
where
technically was
it's 6, because it's 8 out of 16, and that's when Omega got kidnapped at the end. But yeah, I agree. I think the pacing of episode 9 was just really good.
Oh god, I was just thinking about episode 8 now. That is when Crosshair got crispified.
Now looking back on that, it's still a little shocking that they were like, yeah, aim for the child.
I was thinking about that episode recently because of that interview that came out with Jen and Brad being like, there is like a noticeable change when it's Crosshair who is back and himself, and I assume that it is post crispification, that is when the chip came out, and he started making these choices on his own. I think that it is noticeable post that episode that he is like the person in charge. I think my favorite episodes were the Ryloth mini arc, if you want to call it, whatever. I think one, because Harrison Dula is like my third favorite Star Wars character. Of course, I'm gonna be like, any content with that woman, fucking sign me up. But I also do think that for at least the first part of those 2 episodes, it's not very Bad Batch centered. It still felt like a Bad Batch story, if that makes sense. Like how they were being wrapped into the story, I was like, okay, this makes sense. And then, you know, having that really raw and like beautiful moment between Omega and Hera of like, hey, like, we are both kids who are going through some shit right now, was really, really great. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the series, I think. I was just thinking about that, and then plus that interview, and then also a Star Wars Star Wars YouTube channel has like a little show that they have where they talk about Star Wars properties, and it was announced, I'm assuming it was today that the video came out, that there's going to be a time jump in between season 1 and 2, and I'm very excited to see how large that time jump is, if it is large at all, because the idea of us going from like little Omega to like moody teen Omega is very funny to me. Because I would love for her I would love for her to get into some shenanigans with teen Hera, who's like, I'm a pilot now.
Yeah, the interview did come out or the little Star Wars like news show came out today, because apparently it comes out every Thursday. I just didn't know that. I don't pay attention. I don't think the time jump is going to be too big, that where it would be like a significant like change in all of them, because when they'd have to make like new models for the characters, especially if like Omega gets older. And they've done like small little time jumps before in like Rebels and things between seasons, and it's not like Ezra suddenly was like a whole ass adult, just like his haircut. Maybe Omega with a new haircut. No, the time jump just cuts to fucking Crosshair's bleached skeleton again. We said this last week, but I'm bringing it up again.
The text crawl in the first episode, but it just says Tech has developed male pattern baldness, and then pans to Crosshair's bleached skeleton.
He already had it. He has it now.
That's his actual defect. It's nothing else. He just has male.
It's not even being smart. The rest of the Bad Batch is like, sure, Tech, thank you. Like they just pretend for his benefit.
I was watching the first episode today, and while they're all having their little fight with Depa's squad, I was laughing because all Tech did, like, I know he's smart, but all Tech did was put some bombs on some guys and then push a button. And I was like, dang, someone gave him that, and I was like, here you go, little buddy.
To be fair, in the otother episode on Raxus, he does just like he doesn't give a shit. He goes in like he.
No,
he
I do. No, I know. I'm just being annoying.
Claudia being our resident tech defender means we have in fact come full circle to the first episode of this podcast.
I just think he's funny. I just think the idea of Tech being like, yes, I'm very smart, and Echo looking, and he's like, you are playing Candy Crush.
In the Jennifer and Brad interview, they did confirm. Yes, Crosshair has had his chip removed, because some people were like, did he really? Like they were like, yes, he did. So I'm glad we can put that fandom argument to
please
rest.
Fucking put it to rest. I still see some of y'all being like, I don't know, I don't think I believe them. They're probably just trying to misdirect us. No, besties, they're trying to tell a good narrative story, because they don't want to just pass it off as like, oh, it's just his chip making him do bad thing. Oh, bad chip. And now he has no chip and he is a good boy. No, he got his chip removed and has still decided that I do not want to be a good boy. I want to be fascist.
I like the idea that Crosshair's internal monologue is in fact narrated in that style of speaking. Like Crosshair fully is on the one of like the Star Destroyers, and he's like, I do not want to be good boy. I want to be fascist. And then like grabs a gun and is like, aim for the child.
Not I can has cheeseburger Crosshair.
No, but I will say, I mean, I liked them confirming that. Add that to the list of things that I was accidentally right about, because the entire time we've been watching this, I was hypothetically like, it'd be really interesting if the chips weren't a plot point and they just like were doing their own thing. And I guess that Dave Filoni does live in my walls, because he was like, that's a good idea, and then did that.
No, Jennifer does.
Yeah, Jennifer's been listening to you.
The way that I'm like, what's that scratching sound in the crawl space of my house? And it's Jennifer being like, nothing. Go back to bed.
I do like that. Yeah, they didn't want to use the chips as like a thing, because they're like, it feels kind of like cheap to just like blame it all on the chips. And also, it's more interesting to like show the effects of the chips on all these different clones. Like they did like compare Hauser to Crosshair, being like, you see there's like clones that their chips are like wearing off on them, and they have decided like, oh yeah, wait, this is wrong. And then meanwhile there's Crosshair who has no chip and is like, wait, actually I'm still going to do this shit.
I will not rehash my Crosshair thoughts, but I will say I find it extremely funny that the writers of the show put someone in the narrative to be like, see, even with the chip, you can make morally good choices, but Crosshair doesn't have one and still chose the wrong thing. And hundreds of people watched that and they were like, I'm going to close my eyes for this part and tune back in when I want to deal with that later.
What is Star Wars if not that scenario happening over and over and over again, and people being too obtuse to get it?
Something I did want to say is one of the big things that I went into the Bad Batch hoping for was some more explanation about the clones post Order 66. That's like a huge part of Star Wars lore that we hadn't explored so much. The closest we really have in canon is Rex and Wolf and Gregor in Rebels saying like, yeah, this happened, but they never really get like, here's the immediate impact and here's what we were kind of dealing with and here's how the chip affected people. Because again, as we see, like people like Hauser who have the chip and maybe it's degraded like as time goes on, but he's like, yeah, no, I can still tell right from wrong even with the chip, which makes me even more excited to see. I know in season 2 or like at the very least before the end of the show, we are going to see Wolf. And I know we are going to see Wolf being like, hey, I had a chip and I did kill my Jedi and he was like my dad and now I'm extremely traumatized. But now that we have confirmation that the chip does either wear off or other than their presence, like close to a Jedi or a Jedi sympathizer, like it doesn't have as strong of an effect. Like seeing a clone who is close to their Jedi is going to be extremely difficult to handle. So I'm really excited to see how we get from Wolf, who I assume followed Order 66 to Wolf and Rebels. I'm very excited. And I would like to see Cody. I would like to see how he's dealing with that because canonically, he and Obi-Wan were very close. So let's see.
I think that is probably a good segue into talking about some of the things that like our overall narrative likes and dislikes about the show, which I'm happy to start out with because I did have a lot of them. I will say most of my big criticisms of the narrative immediately changed when I learned we were getting a season 2 of the show, because a lot of my problems were with the pacing of character development, and that changes a lot when you have more episodes to do. Like back when I thought this was going to be one season and we were halfway through it, I was like, what is happening? Like, what is going on with the plot? What's going on with the characters? Now that we have a season 2, I am less concerned about that. That said, please give Echo lines. I think we only heard this man like talk about himself maybe twice, and one of those contexts was him being like, I still hate separatists, and then being like, except for this one separatist who is fine actually. And I want his character to be explored as like the last of the regs that we are seeing aside from Wolf and Gregor.
I do think Echo's gonna have his Sabine moment like in either next season or the season after. Like they're like, we gotta get a lot of plot shit, we gotta get a lot of other stuff with our main people out of the way, but like Echo's our special boy and we're definitely gonna have something like I definitely think we're gonna have some very special boy moments for him. I think it's coming. I think it's coming.
I am excited because of how Jennifer and Brad did say that there'll be more like characters showing up again in like season 2, ones that we've already seen obviously show up in season 1, which makes me hopeful for seeing Hera and the Syndulas again in the Hauser maybe. But then also they're like characters that you all know but have not appeared yet in this show. So I'm just like, please, if I don't see Cody, I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Please just let me see him.
I just want to say on Cody in general, like I was thinking about Kenobi because there are rumors that it has recently wrapped filming. If we don't get Cody in the Bad Batch, and then if in Kenobi we don't even acknowledge Cody or even the clones in any way, shape, or form, that will be my Joker origin story.
Same.
I cannot comprehend, or of Ahsoka either. I cannot comprehend of them only just dealing with like his loss of Anakin and not of like his love for Ahsoka, his love for the rest of the Jedi, his family, his love for the 212th and Cody, obviously. It is going to be my Joker origin story. And I think, and that would really fucking suck. And it is one thing that I am very afraid of. But I mean, I guess it'll be my consolation prize if I get Cody in the Bad Batch, but.
So I think you guys are forgetting that we actually did establish the way that Cody's going to come into the show, and that's through Obi-Wan Kenobi's boyfriend graveyard, which is in his backyard.
Oh my god!
Fuck off, Noah! Fuck off! No, I just wanted to like talk about more fucking possible characters that I'd like to see show up in the Bad Batch. Like I've been saying since episode 9 when they did throw us that crumb. We're like, here, we're gonna name drop Boba Fett, and then we just never touch on that again, please. Let me see Boba, but not Woba. He better be like correctly tanned Boba Fett. And Cad Bane and Fennec show up again. I'd like to like see the whole like bounty hunters like shit like get wrapped up, or like what's going on there, because they're like, oh yeah, here we're establishing a plot, and we'll see you guys next time when we come back. Probably we're gonna finish talking about Omega and the Bad Batch and deal with the Camino stuff now. We'll come back to this later, but just know it's here. We've planted a seed. We'll come back to this.
I would also say, I know that there's going to be a time skip, so we're thinking they're probably not going to make new models. Speaking of WOBA, I would love if between seasons they corrected the whitewashing problem of basically the entire cast. I don't work in animations, I wouldn't know, but I can't think it's that hard of a fix to just give them the correct skin tones, because it's like it was such a huge problem this entire season, and I could not stop noticing it every single time they were on screen.
Literally, I was gonna mention this when we got to the things we didn't like the part, because I love pretty much every piece of this show except for that. Like, every time they would be on screen, I'd be like, bestie, I love you so much, but why? Crosshair, why do you look like Mike Pence? Tech, why do you look like Griffin McElroy? I hate this. I hate it so much.
Yeah, if we're getting into our like little critique time, I feel let me enter my real Crosshair era, truly, because what really stopped me from enjoying this show, and to the extent that I think a lot of people enjoyed this show, is the whitewashing. It got to a point where I was like, I mean, it got to a point in episode 1 is the problem for me, that I watched this show because I was like, every single thing about this show is interesting to me, right? The time period in which it is set, the people that it is about, even though I could make an argument about like Clone Force 99 and like what necessarily is going on there. There's some interesting things about like what is breeding desirability and like, hey bestie, that kind of sounds like eugenics, but we'll step away from that even. There are so many things that this show really could have been for me personally, and then it really did not deliver on that, on just like, these are just like some white fellas, and so yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, if this problem is not resolved, the thing is that I have a Star Wars podcast where we cover Star Wars media. I don't know if I'd watch it. I genuinely, that is something that it's stopping me that much of like, I'm like, I don't know if I have a desire to watch this for a second season, if that is what happens. And I know that that's a very serious turn to be taking. It's one of those things where I'm like, it genuinely has bothered me to an extent that I've not gone into, but it does.
Oh, Mel, I think you're perfectly valid for feeling that way, because it is shitty that they don't look like 10 really, like skin tone wise. They're like, and oh god, I'm thinking about fucking Wayne again, or sorry,
No,
Waylon Doom.
That's literally what I was gonna bring. Like Kanan Jarrus is my favorite he's my favorite character. He's in my top 5. And when he showed up and he looked like a young Obi-Wan, like, it put aside the fact that it's wrong or racist, or let's take that part aside and let's just take apart the thing of like, you want to make something that's good that people are watching and be immersed in. It took me right out. I was like, oh, I should be fucking ecstatic right now that then I'm about to watch Order 66 and be fucking sad and whatever. And then I guess not ecstatic is not the word, but like, I should be having a lot of emotions that are not, whose white baby is this? Like, I couldn't even enjoy this incredibly good, well-written, emotional thing, because the whole time I was like, okay, this is good, but why does he look like that? No. I mean, what was really revolutionary about Rebels was like, everyone in that show is ethnic.
No white people on the Ghost.
There's no white people on the Ghost. And then it was like, so anyway, Waynin. And I was like, what? And it was just like, it was kind of like salt in the wound, because we already like, why is the Batch white? And they were like, why is Kanan white? It was just like, Really? I'm glad that people have made a really big deal about it, so that it's like it's a major narrative, so that maybe they will listen for season 2, maybe, hopefully. But I also have no hope. But for me, from a critic perspective, I'm like it takes me out the story. It takes people out the story, and it all the other wonderful work that is done on the show, all the crazy good animation, all the writing, all the interesting shit, whatever, like, then you don't get to enjoy any of it because of something like that. And it's just a shame. It's just a shame because there's so much good work that goes into it, because you're like, okay, well, why does he look like that though?
Yeah, and not to beat a dead horse or anything, but I think there is definitely something that, you know, it affects the narrative. Considering I just rewatched the first episode, and I was very shocked by White Caleb Doom. That did throw me a lot because I forgot how bad it was. But I think the thing that really gets me too is there's that scene where they're with the regs in the cafeteria, and I'm like, this really, like, the politics of this changes completely when you have all of them being the lightest people in this room, surrounded by a bunch of clearly like men of color who clearly look, obviously I think there's been a problem with whitewashing the clones in all of Star Wars since the Clone Wars. Like, Rex in season 7, I love you, but you are extremely pale. But having the Bad Batch there as like the heroes against all of these annoying regular people, like, you have all of the clones who are all following orders, who are the standard, the regs, who are lame and not like the Bad Batch. And I know that's like the point of I think that's probably like, hopefully they will talk about that more in season 2, but having the non-important clones all be like significantly darker toned and significantly look a little like more like Tamara Morrison than the Batch does, that creates some pretty messed up politics. And it's something that, again, like, it changes how you view the scene. And I don't believe that was intentional. So, like, that's the thing. It's like, if you were doing it from an intentional perspective and you were actually going to talk about it, still not good, but at least there'd be a reason. And for this, it just seems like they were like, we want our main characters to be lighter so white people can relate to them, which is stupid, but it changes how you view the story.
It also becomes this thing of like, I think a lot of people's excuses are like, oh, it's character design, like, you need to be able to recognize like who is who. Bitch, you can figure out who the fuck it is based on the color of their goddamn uniform. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, I think it unintentionally says something about desirability once again, of like, white is desired, these special abilities are desired, fuck these brown people. And then also, I think to some lesser extent, like, the clones don't super look like Tem, I don't think, personally. I think there's some just the key differences in like the shape of their brow and the shape of their nose that I'm like, like, I will watch this because it is something I care. I have so invested so much time about, and I do care about these characters. But goddamn, why are you making it so difficult to do this?
And this is often a symptom that happens when you have the people who are not being represented are not writing their own stories. There's a thing when non-Jewish people write Jewish characters, and they do it really badly because they don't know enough about us as a people or about us as a culture to write it correctly. So they end up writing a story about a bunch of heroic goy that saved the sad Jewish people. And similarly, when you have a nearly all white writer's room, and perhaps most importantly, a writer's room that does not include Indigenous people in a story about Indigenous people, you end up failing at that. I'm just saying that if Star Wars wants to correct this problem, you could hire Indigenous writers.
Karen Travis moment.
Oh my God.
Don't bring that woman up.
Dear God. While I haven't started the High Republic books, whatever, something that was very important about the High Republic is that a lot of the authors that are involved, they're people of color, like, but a thing that they have emphasized the entire time is that they have created these stories not only with diversity in mind, but like being politically in mind, like not just like, oh, we are going to make sure we have a diverse cast of characters, that it was a part of the whole concept for the story. I mean, this is why, you know, I have a little bit of hope for the Acolyte show, because they talked about it in a lot of ways the same way that the authors of the High Republic were talking about, thinking of like, no, Star Wars is political, we have to think of it this way, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, I did have a lot of hope in some ways, but then there's other Star Wars consistently over and over again, and we've had this same conversation with the sequel films, where they were like, we're going to have a diverse cast of characters to be our main characters, whatever. And it's like, okay, so what does it mean when you have a character who's a former stormtrooper who's a black man? It's like a package. They can't just be mushed together.
Really quick, one more thing I did want to say about this is the thing that really frustrates me is when people say, well, what did you expect from Disney? Yeah, I mean, good question, because here's the thing. If you're looking for queer stories, or you're looking for stories about like marginalized groups, the best place to go for that is to smaller creators or creators who are a member of that group. That being said, big corporations can be held accountable for their actions. Big corporations, like, regardless of what people might think, they should do better, and we deserve better. And not just me, but
the fact y'all give them a pass is
exactly. It's like, that is the biggest corporation, and Disney doing something is going to have a bigger impact than a small LGBT creator. Despite how good that LGBT creator's thing might be, it is not going to have the reach or the impact. And this is one of the things I'm going to get into my I'm so sorry Rise of Skywalker moment. But having like the two women kiss in the background, great. You're going to edit it out in countries where that's illegal. What they should have done, and what you would do if you were a good person who, you know, wasn't a corporation, you would say, you don't get our movie if you don't allow us to have that. Because the push for like, we want to see Star Wars is probably there's going to be pushback. I know it's different. I know there's politics in different countries. Obviously that's there. And know it's much, much deeper than that. That being said, what gets me is that people do not expect these corporations to do better when we know they can, and they should be held accountable.
Yeah. So the fun thing about Disney is that it does have a chokehold on the representation of Pacific Islanders. Total. Think of every Pacific Islander character you know. Quickly. How many of them are from a Disney movie? Most of fucking them. So the fact that you can do Moana, you can see, okay, there are different shades of brown people in the Pacific. You can have Tem in that goddamn movie, but then the people that are based off of that gentleman, oh, so you can't. So fuck you, actually. Disney, meet me in the goddamn pit. So the one thing I will commend this show to the ends of the earth about is the fact that it did introduce me to my favorite polycule in all of Star Wars, the Syndulla polycule. I really cannot stress enough how much space this godforsaken ship keeps in my mind, because the idea, it's just very powerful. And so I would like to thank the Bad Batch for doing that. Positive? No. But Jess.
A thing I liked is it did give us Omega, and like Omega being an epic girl boss, so that's like nice for all the little girls out there who'd like to see more representation for themselves. Not that Ahsoka or anyone else who's been like Rey or Leia or anyone didn't exist, because they do exist, but just an actual like little girl, not like a teen or like young adult woman, but a little girl doing fun, cool, like adventure things and actually being helpful, and not just being like, oh, here's this kid and they're kind of like have to be rescued all the time because they're a child. And also she like showed that she was probably the most emotionally mature and also the smartest out of all of them, because sometimes the batch was kind of stupid.
Well, she's also the oldest.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Echo, it's debatably could be the same age as her, so Echo and Omega, you two oldest siblings vibes.
One thing I do love that now both the Mandalorian and the Bad Batch have done, where they're like, this is a badass show about some dudes, and then the show premieres and they're like, this is about a baby. And especially in the case of the Bad Batch, they were like, oh, this is fully about her. Everybody else is a side character. This is fully about her. You've been played. Which I think is very powerful. It's very powerful. And I love the marketing switch up. Like and I've said this before too, like I was one of those people who was like, not another show about all dudes, whatever. And then it was like, suppression it. Like it was, and also like, and even when in a bunch of episodes, they found ways to fit in other female characters in there. They were like, this is about 4 men and a baby. However, we are going to put women in this as much as we can. And I was like, you know what? I respect that very much.
You were talking about women, and then I started thinking about Sid, because it was just like, oh yeah, they did introduce us to cool gay protector Sid, queer elder Sid, and this has nothing to do with anything. I was just thinking about other Trandoshans in Star Wars, like Bosk, and then Skier in the High Republic, and how come Sid doesn't like do the whole like snake kind of like.
Because she's gay.
Speak.
Well, here's the thing. Well, to be fair, so is Bosk. But here's my thing is I like to think it's kind of like Yoda, because we know that like Yaddle doesn't talk like that. I'm sure Grogu's gonna talk normal because he's raised by people who talk like normal, basic.
Oh, it's like Jar Jar. Like not all Gungans talk like that either.
I do. I very much enjoy the idea of Sid being like, yeah, it's a different dialect.
She lost her accent when she moved to Ord Mantell, like you know how like Arinda
Epic
Price.
Hera Syndulla moment.
I do like the idea too. I have now decided that Tech and Crosshair both fake their accents to be different. So I do think we should get more fake accents in Star Wars. I think that would be nice. Hera's obviously great representation. Arinda Price.
Damn, I wish French people were real.
The way I was about to say love Harris and Dula, wish French people.
Oh my god.
Wait, didn't Cut Up have an Irish accent?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah, they just fake accents. They want to be
100
different.
And this is what I'm talking about. Next season, let's get a little bit more clone culture. Let's hear from my boy Echo, see what his
Culture?
deal is. What's it?
I want them to speak Mando'a, please.
Every time I read a fan fiction where they have a clone speaking Mando'a, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like that was all Legends, which was good, but I'm also like, god damn, you can tell you're like, ooh, different language, sexy. Like fuck off, god damn. It's like
I
the
do
same
love
people,
the
not to
concept.
bring up fucking the bad show, but when they would have that one character who's blue speak Spanish randomly in the middle of a sentence, I'd be like, fuck off. And that's what I'm getting with the clones being like, actually we also speak Mando. I'm like, fuck, until it happens in canon, if I see one more of you bitches having one of the clones use like regular ass.
To be fair, it does happen in canon. Django does talk to Boba in Mando'a
That's
in
his
the
son,
movie.
not the clones.
Anyway,
Oh!
sorry.
Here's my funny concept though. I would like to suggest the Duolingo Mando'a, and I would like to suggest that all the clones are taking it the way that all my Jewish friends are currently taking Yiddish, and they know like 4 words and they're all wrong. So Cody tries to be like sexy to Obi-Wan and say like a word in Mando'a, and Obi's like, that does not mean what you think it means.
I do like Obi-Wan being fluent in Mando'a, and Cody's like, yeah, I speak, yeah, exactly. He's like, yeah, I speak Mando'a, and starts talking, and Obi-Wan's like, oh my god, that is
Cody's trying to be like,
wait.
you, my love, are everything. And Obi-Wan's like, you just said that you saw a truck. So I want you to ask.
I've read many a fic like this where they're like, oh yeah, they like learned and spoke Mando'a like on Camino and then you know off Camino, whatever. But like because they've been within their own so much, like they have their own special dialect. I've read some like extreme world building fic going on, but like they have their own dialect and like that basically like other Mandalorians don't fucking understand at this point, which I do love. I love very much. I would love to get into the linguistics.
Yeah, I just would like to see Mando'a develop as an actual language because there are fantasy languages out there, but can finish developing Mando'a.
POV. Fen Rau is your Mando'a teacher.
Stop.
Camino? Fen Rau teaching Mando'a on Camino like it's high school Spanish.
Literally, he's the fucking white Spanish teacher. Who's like,
okay, we had one of those at my high school, and he was like, "You will address me as Professore Brand."
Wait, I do like the idea.
Señor Rau is everything to me.
Hola,
This
soy
is
Señor Rau.
This
Como
really-
estás tú hoy?
People who know me know that Din Djarin being Mandalorians being Latino and Din Djarin being being Spanish is very important to me. So the idea of not only Fen Rao being your white Spanish teacher, but from Spain, like he's white and he
Not
speaks
España.
yes, he teaches in Barcelona.
The reason that the fucking clones Mando'a dialect is so different is because Fen Rao.
And Rao is
Sundari.
I studied abroad on Mando.
And Raul's like, hola, como
Sundari.
estás? And then, he's like, como estás? And fucking Cody says that, and Obi-Wan's like, who the fuck taught you how to say that?
The idea that Boba speaks like actual Mando'a because Jango teaches it to him, and then like the clones are like, "Oh my god, another one of us," and they're like, "Hi." He's like, "What the fuck?" Did you
That's
say
okay.
to
Do you guys
me?"
remember the arc where he tried to kill Mace Windu in Clone Wars? That's how the other like cadets find out that he's not one.
Yeah,
of
they're just like,
them.
Lucky, why the fuck are you speaking like that?
The other
I
clones
guess-
in that episode actually bully him because they're like, "You don't know how to speak Mando'a," unlike us who's fluent in it. He's like, "You guys are fucking dumb."
The way that I hate the idea of, I did just come to the realization that Fenro and Jango Fett they must have met at least
Do you
once.
think?
And that makes
Hey,
me feel violent.
hey! Do you think they explored each other's bodies?
I knew you were
Shut
gonna
the
say
fuck
that.
up.
Where I
Please
knew you were gonna ask that fucking question.
Since we're talking about Boba, do we want to talk about our speculation for the Book of Boba Fett and how it may connect to the Bad Batch?
I'm always down to talk about Boba and and how Omega might be
Your
connected.
Winter Soldier trigger
Yeah.
words.
My trigger words are Cody and Boba Fett. Oh my god, if Omega shows up in Book of Boba Fett, I will
That's
become
gonna
a
be my
menace.
Joker.
That's my thing that I'm very scared of, is who they would cast to play Omega. I also do like the idea of her at the point of Book of Boba Fett. She was like, I'm Omega, but you can call me Meg because that's Omega's a demeaning name. That's not my name.
I took Greek in high school, so I know that's not cool.
Yeah, she's like, I want a cool name. All my brothers picked out a cool name. I'm picking out a cool name.
Probably Book of Boba Fett might have flashbacks. If there are flashbacks that include Omega, I will go insane.
So here's the thing that I was just thinking about now. If Omega's like, I want a cool name like my brothers, she's gonna be like, all of you guys are named after basically your function. So she's gonna be like, hi, I'm Bow and Arrow.
Not her saying I'm Katniss.
She's just I'm Bo.
No, she says I'm not Bo.
Boba, and Bo-Katan. No, I'm ending it all.
No,
That's the three genders.
Boba, and Bo-Katan. I was gonna say she walks in and she's like, yeah, this is Hunter, Tech, Wrecker, and I'm Girl Boss. I love tie-ins to animation and live action because it does I hate to say this because people don't value animation at the same level they value live action. So it's nice to see like when Bo-Katan was in The Mandalorian and it was like, haha, you're not really going to understand this unless you watch Clone Wars and Rebels. I think that that's really cool. And it kind of urges people to say, hey, these things have value and they have story and they're interesting and they're canon. So on that hand, I would like to see Omega in the Book of Boba Fett. Or I would like to see Fennec reference the Bad Batch in Book of Boba Fett. I'm also just scared as to how they would cast her, because I feel like that would be extremely that could be deeply troubling if they are not careful.
Something I do really appreciate about the Bad Batch is that it really cemented Dave and co being like, you better not have skipped an episode, bitch. You better have watched every single morsel of the canon shows, whatever. Pay attention. We're gonna bring back characters from early seasons of the Clone Wars. We're gonna have little details. Pay attention, bitch. It really was no skipping, which I very much appreciate. I love very much. But I think it would also be very powerful if Omega showed up as one of Grogu's many lesbian aunt in The Mandalorian season 3. She just pops up as another random woman that Din encounters and is like, you're a powerful woman with a gun. Can you help me?
No, I think it would be really fun if they did do like a flashback thing from Boba's childhood and we see like a baby Omega. Just if I don't see some iteration of Boba and Omega meeting at least once, whether it be in the Book of Boba Fett or Bad Batch, I'm gonna riot. I think if they did like show Omega in Book of Boba Fett, I'd better like also get a crumb in the Bad Batch, being like, oh yeah, we actually maybe met during the Bad Batch too. Tune into season 2 of that to find out.
I do like that this thing that Jess has proposed, in which the Book of Boba Fett is basically just a teaser, an advertisement for season 2 of the Bad Batch. I do like that a lot. That's very powerful.
What are our final thoughts on season 1 of the Bad Batch? What are our predictions? Let's go around, besties.
It was a show. I watched it.
Okay, well, I'll go. I'll have an actual thing to say. I really liked it. I think it obviously had some problems that we talked about. I think the animation was really good. I think like the overarching ideas that they dug into a little bit are really interesting. I would really like to see us get a bit more substance. I know they had to set a lot of stuff up. I kind of wish we had known it was getting a season 2 a little earlier in the season, because I did get a little bit pessimistic there for a while that it was going to be one season and it was going to be bad. I like the concepts. I really like exploring this time of the Empire. I also I've been enchanted by the characters. Like, I think that they're interesting. I think they're fun. I'd really like to see some more character-driven stuff. And obviously, I'd like to see them fix the way that they look to make them actually look like how they should. But overall, like, I enjoyed it. I'll be looking forward to season 2. I hope they make some improvements, and I hope they take into consideration the stuff that a lot of people have been saying and like what needs to be fixed. I don't want to take up too much more time. Also, I did rewatch episode 1 shortly before we're recording. The music is so good. That is by far, I think, the best thing about this show. Yeah, I love the music. I like the characters. I enjoyed it. Some stuff needs to change, but I think it's good.
I like Star Wars when it is political, and so I loved this. And I think that's why the stuff like the whitewashing and the implications that it had on screen was so disappointing, because it pulled you out, because it created issues that, you know, were not intended, or were, God forbid. So I loved that they were like, we are going to explore this period of time. Like, I was joking with my mom, actually. I was like, you know, we always have an epic fascism TED Talk every week, and it's not just because, like, we like to talk about that. It's really because that is what the show is about. It is about the foundation of a fascist empire and what that means, and that I'm sure we would discuss that if this was another show or whatever, especially if we were doing this podcast during Rebels, for example, or something like that. But I think it is very inherently political, and I love it. And I remember I wasn't excited about this show because I was like, not another show about dudes. But then I was like, ooh, I do love clones though. And then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, the concept is this, that it's about the clones dealing with the fallout of the political, you know, foundation of the empire, whatever. I was like, this is exactly my shit. Absolutely 100%. I am on board. And then I got the wonderful surprise of Omega, which we talked about a little bit. So yeah, I am 100% on board. The music across Star Wars is always what makes it great. I feel like a lot of Star Wars is just like fucking two pieces, like pieces of stringing some good and some bad together. And the only thing that really keeps you there sometimes is the music. Like, you'd be like, this is the stupidest shit possible, and then they put in an absolute banger, and you're like, I'm sitting here, I'm crying, I'm emotional, this is the best thing I've ever seen, whatever. So the music is always, for me, a key point of Star Wars and why it lives rent fucking free in my brain. And it was very much in concert with some absolutely beautiful animation. Shout out to them having a lot of money. Which is also why it's very, very frustrating that they didn't make the clones the correct color. You're like, you could have, like, light, dappled light through the trees, but they couldn't be the right color. So yeah, it is just everything I love in Star Wars. And it is, I guess it's quintessentially Star Wars in that it has everything that I like. And everything that fucking frustrates me all at once. So
I should just note that I don't really have any final thoughts. I was a show that I liked. I'm sorry.
Mel?
I cannot keep my shit together. I've got nothing to say about this show. I'm so sorry.
Overall, I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. The animation, like Klaudia and Ollie pointed out, was really, really pretty. Really good shit right there. Shout out to the animators. Thank you. And yeah, the score was really good. I thought the pacing could have been better. Like, I wish they would have told us, there was going to be a season 2, because it felt like the pacing was, especially when you're like thinking there's not going to be a second season, and you're just like, what the fuck is happening in this show?
Yeah, same.
But that's basically it, and I do hope that they try to fix some of their shit for season 2. And if I don't see fucking Cody, I'm just not gonna be a Star Wars fan anymore. Yeah, that's it. It's gonna be weird not doing Cody Watch until like Kenobi or Bad Batch comes out. I mean, I might do Clone Watch or Omega Watch for Book of Boba Fett, but it's not the same. Dun 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 dun. Welcome to Is It Legends or Did I Just Make It Up? Clone Edition. To celebrate the Bad Batch ending, I figured we would just celebrate it ending. To celebrate season 1 of the Bad Batch, I figured I would bring some clone-related Legends stories to the table. The way that this works is, if you're a first-time listener, one of our hosts, in this case me, will compile a bunch of things. Some might be from Star Wars Legends, some we just made up as it says on the tin, and everyone will have to guess if it is Legends or if I did in fact just make it up. Are we ready to get started? In Legends, during the late period of the Clone Wars, the Galactic Republic military deployed millions of additional clone troopers, fully grown in a year by Arcanian microtechnologies on Syntax 2. During the Clone Wars, Syntax 2 was used by the Republic for military staging and fleet maintenance. It was also the location of Supreme Chancellor Palpatine's secret clone army.
I'm going to go with that this is real, since I've been delving into Wikipedia recently because people were telling me about fucking Luke with 2 U's.
What do you guys think, though? Do we think
I'm feeling this is real.
So here's my thing. Could you repeat the type of cloning technology that they allegedly use on this magic planet?
Arcanian microtechnologies.
Okay.
That's actually the company.
I'm really getting some World of Warcraft vibes from that word. And the last time that I had a suspicion that a word Ollie was using was a lie because it was from fucking World of Warcraft, it kind of sounded like that, so I don't know where to stand on this.
See, I'm like struggling to figure this out because on one hand, it sounds stupid enough where like, yeah, that could be Legends. But then what if Ollie's playing a trick and has changed like one single thing? So it's just like, We're
on the same page, Jess, because that was my exact thought. Because it's very on brand for Ollie to get like a very factual retelling and then change a word and be like, I bamboozled you, didn't I? My inclination is to say that this is something Ollie made up a piece of, and thus part of it is real, but some of it is not. And my gut is never right, but I am going to stick to it for this and say that Ollie made it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with Noah because I'm a contrarian, so sorry, Melon and Klaudia.
So here's the thing. If I'm gonna switch out a word, it's funny. I didn't think there was anything funny because this is Legends. Palpatine did have a fun little secret clone army. That was, fun fact, they were genetically modified to age to adulthood in a year.
Yeah, you said that and I was like,
So
that's fucking insane.
yeah, it's pretty
What?
bad. There's a lot
Wow,
of like,
that's like
Renesmee!
from Twilight.
Get resume out of here.
there's a lot of also like really bad, like messed up stuff, and I'm like, this is not good. In Legends, in the 2008 Nintendo DS game Star Wars: The Clone Wars Jedi Alliance, the player teams up with Captain Rex and Commander Cody to track down General Grievous. When the boss fight triggers, Commander Cody will enter a mode called Defensive by the game's code. Only if Obi-Wan is on your team.
I want to believe this so bad. I don't remember this game coming out though, and it would have come out when I was a kid, and I have no memory of it even existing. So can I bridge the question of, was this at least a real game?
I will confirm this is a real game. I actually have this game.
Wait, this is a real game.
It is a real.
How did I not know about this game?
It's for the Nintendo DS. It was also, I will let you guys know, it was a console like a port for like, there's a console version and then they made a DS version. I don't know if that's violating the rules by saying that that is a real game.
I don't think so, because it's more about what's happening in the game than it being like a real thing.
Much like Name That
true.
Ship, it's about the story.
Correct.
So Cody enters defense mode when Obi-Wan's on your team.
It's defensive mode.
I'm going to say this is false only because Ollie did admit that they own this game. And so they definitely could be like, I know what happens here and I am going to fuck with them.
I mean, I am a gamer. I'll come out and say that. This is my coming out episode.
And you know that's my weakness.
Like, I want this to be true too, because the Cody Wan shipper in my heart would think that's like more fuel to the fire. But I don't know if like fucking actual like Star Wars would do something like that. On one hand, like, yeah, Cody, that is his general. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's made up. I think Ollie made this up.
The thing that is funny to me about it is the phrase defensive, because it does sound, as opposed to like Cody defending Obi-Wan, it is like he is defensive about Obi-Wan. Like Anakin is like, oh, y'all fucking, and he's like, no,
I've never met this man in my life. What are you talking?
The thing is that like Cody goes into defensive. It just sounds like a thing that would be in a game manual. That said, the reason I have doubts about this is because this game came out the same year that the Clone Wars TV show started, and I don't think that Cody was enough of like a character for this to logically have been a thing, right?
So Cody was on the front of the season 1 DVD of Clone Wars, not like with other characters. It's literally just Cody. Just so you know, Cody was like an important character in, like, they did value him in the Clone Wars.
You know what? Here's the thing. I want to believe this so bad that I'm going to say that it's a real thing for my own heart, and I will not believe you if you say that it's fake.
We have 3 notoriously big Cody Wan shippers in this, so is this like fan service to them? Or is this something that's so truly wild? I'm gonna say that...
Wait, quick question. Who are the 3?
Yeah, I thought we were all Cody Wan.
It's everyone but me. It's not that I am not a Cody Wan shipper. I just don't think I'm as big of a Cody Wan shipper as everyone else.
There's 5. I was like, which one of the 4 of us are you not counting? And then I realized it's because I did the quest.
I think that it is Legends.
Everyone locked in? I made it up entirely.
Yes!
Also, here's the thing. I actually don't even know. The only thing I do know about this game is that there is a moment that decanonizes the episode where Grievous kills Kid Fisto's Padawan. I played it very briefly. I don't think I finished it. I think I got to a part where it was too hard and I stopped playing because I was
You know what? I don't even care. This is canon in my brain, and that's where it matters.
Jess, did you say it was canon or that Ollie made it up?
I said Ollie made it up.
Before perfecting the Django clones, the Kaminoans also took DNA samples from Jedi Knight Fallon Gray, which they used to create twin Force-sensitive clones called X1 and X2. The two served Palpatine until 10 BBY, when they had a falling out resulting in X1 murdering X2 on Mustafar. X1 then worked with the warlord Nuso Esva to conquer the unknown regions until his death in 1 BBY, before Esva's empire entered its war with Thrawn's Shadow Empire.
I'm gonna say this is true. This feels very true.
I'm also
It does feel very legendsy, so I'm gonna commit to it being Legends, even though I'm gonna regret that choice.
You've said the weird bug man's name, and so I do trust that this is Legends.
Okay, so yeah, you brought up the fucking bug man and his weird thing with Thrawn, which is making me lean towards like Legends, but I don't know if you've changed anything from the beginning. But then again, none of it really was funny, and you said in the first one where if you change something, it's to make it funny. And I'm just like, It
seems like Timmy in his Too Many Clones era. That's why it feels real.
What were the clone twins' name?
X1 and X2.
After the X-Men movie?
That's stupid as Luke
Yeah, the
with
X2
two
clone
U's.
is the one. The X2 clone actually slides through doors instead of walking through them.
Yeah.
You know, let's just go with 3 for 3. I think I'll made this up. I'm just gonna keep going.
So everyone thinks it's Legends except for Jess.
Yeah, unrelated, but X2 did make me gay. You can move on now.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I feel like X2 also made me gay. So actually, that is Legends.
Ayo!
Part of it is Legends. It's actually, I made it up.
What?
Gotcha. No, well, so
the
here's
first part, right?
So here's the thing: X1 and X2 are real. But I did just entirely fabricate. I believe one did die on Mustafar. I did entirely fabricate Nuso Esva because I know we have some listeners who appreciate Legends Thrawn, so that one's for you guys.
Oh wait, so the Force-sensitive twins were
they were
true, but
they
like
were
Nuso
Nuso Esva's
involved.
I did my inclination that this was fake. I did say I'm gonna say this is Legends and then regret that. My inclination that this was fake is because it sounded alarmingly similar to one of the major plot lines in the Old Republic video games. So I was like, minus the Mustafar part, this lines up pretty well, actually.
I do believe that this lore is based in those games. So I could be wrong. I just read it on Wikipedia. In Legends, Clone Commander Faye served under Oppo Rancisis during the height of the Clone Wars. He was deployed alongside Quinlan Vos multiple times, the last time being to Kashyyyk during the final days of the Clone Wars. Faye's by-the-book personality put him and Vos at odds, prompting Vos to say, "You know I don't like clones. I like Faye even less." When Order 66 happened, Faye shot Quinlan in the chest and Quinlan decapitated him.
I don't want this to be true.
So I do think that you made this up simply for the fact that Oppo Rancisis was mentioned, and I do think he passed away before Clone Wars started, if I'm not mistaken. So
I'm gonna jump on the Ollie made this the fuck up, also based on their reaction, which you can't see, but they are visibly losing their mind.
They forgot that I know lots of things about Oppo Rancisis is a thing, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is fake.
Jess, what do you think?
I'm gonna be the contrarian, and I'm gonna say this is Legends just
Again,
to be
Crosshair?
contrarian.
Again,
Jess is to be in their Crosshair era.
Jess is the only one who is right because Oppo Rancisis is actually in the Clone Wars show.
What?
He's walking down a hallway with Obi-Wan in one scene. So
I know I knew that part.
That
I knew
was
he was in the Clone
okay.
Wars. This scenario just felt wrong.
yeah,
So
well,
I
apparently
would
Quinlan
like to
Vos
say
is
that
clone
the
racist in
experience that I
in
had
Legends.
was where Ollie is actively playing Light from fucking Death Note and just let out like a maniacal ass laugh.
That's how I
It's
feel.
like, they'll never know it was me.
That one
Not
is
Ollie
yeah.
being both Lux Von Terry and Light from Death Note.
Stop. Those are two horrible
You
kins.
can play the white version of him in the American movie.
Oh,
No, that's already like, what's his name? Like
Alex Wolf from Old.
Yeah.
Lex Monteri? Wait, is it the guy from Old?
Yeah.
Commander Faye, basically, he's so by the book, but when he and Quinlan Voss work together, they get shit done. But then as soon as Order 66 happened, he was like, oh yeah, I've been waiting for this one. And then he shoots Quinlan in the chest, and then Quinlan decapitates him. But Quinlan does live. So.
Damn, do you think they explored each other's bodies?
I will say they explored each other's bodies when Quinlan was decapitating his head with his lightsaber. So I'd call that exploration. Okay, I have one more for you guys today. In Legends, there was a clone who served as the sergeant of the 65th Legion named Sato, with 2 T's. After becoming gravely injured and losing his squad, one of the members being named Sonic, to a monster during an investigation, he exposed 2 senators who had been profiting from selling weapons to the separatists.
I'll say that's real.
You said Sato.
Sonic?
With 2 T's,
like the
right?
hedgehog?
Yeah, one of them is named Sonic like the Hedgehog.
That
Sato
feels
with 2
stupid
T's,
enough
not to be confused with Commander Sato from Rebels.
See, that feels stupid enough to be real. That there's
I
be
think
a
you should
clone
pronounce-
named Sonic.
I think you should pronounce it Sato.
I mean, I don't think it's ever spoken out loud, so I can say it however I want.
I have yet to be right this entire
Could
round.
be Sato. I don't know.
I'm gonna say this is Legends on the hope that I can finally be right.
I'm
who
sorry,
has
I'm
it?
still just thinking about Sonic.
Yeah,
Gotta go fast.
gotta go fast into the
Now-
jaws of the beast that devoured my team.
So here's the problem, because I want to ask a qualifying question, but I know that's
Mhm.
cheating.
We'll
Um,
ask and see.
What piece of media is this from? Like, is it a book or is it a comic? Or do
I
you not
think
know?
I think I can tell you it is a comic.
Okay.
I don't
So
think
you
that's breaking
so
the
wait,
rules.
so you'd visually see it. So we could have a universe where when we see Sonic having a blue helmet.
I don't know what color the helmet is.
Interesting.
I think it might be red. I'm not sure.
Unrelated, I'm just thinking about the clone named Glitch who thinks that he's force sensitive, and he is my favorite clone in
He's
existence.
That's
my
so powerful.
icon. I love him.
What are you gonna say, Mel? Because I'll just be a contrarian again.
I don't fucking know. I think that it's. I've been burned once, so I'm twice shy. Actually, to be fair, I've been burnt about 5 times this fucking episode. I think I'm just gonna say it's Legends. Bite the bullet. Actually,
Okay.
no. Ollie
Oh.
made it up.
I'm
Ooh.
gonna also say Ollie made it up because I don't know.
So we
Sonic is
have-
haunting my brain.
We have 2 legends and 2. So here's the thing. I did make it up because he's a part of the 182nd. That's actually not it. His name is also here's the thing. So you know how I said Sato with 2 T's? His name's actually Mart with 2 R's.
Not Mart with 2 R's.
And also his teammate's name is Knuckles. He is actually kind of badass though, because his entire team died and then he was like gravely injured and he found a factory that was selling weapons to the separatists and he destroyed it. And then Kid Fisto and Ahsoka came to be like, hey, are you good? And he's like, yeah, these 2 senators are benefiting from sales of weapons. So he's kind of epic. Sorry to Mart Matten. There's only one Mart I respect in this house.
That means I win.
I've bamboozled you all.
Yeah, would you like to hear the scores? I have
Yes,
them
I
recorded.
would love
Please.
to.
So in dead fucking last is Noah with 0.
Yeah.
Next is a tie between Klaudia and myself with 2. And then in first place, of course, is Jess with all 4.
There were
5.
No, there's 5. I
Fuck
got the
me.
first
Fuck
one
me.
wrong.
Oh, never mind.
Well, I'm happy you guys liked my
Yay.
little clone game.
That felt like a saw trap in the worst fucking way possible. It felt like, okay, so here's the thing. Usually, like, it feels like Jigsaw, like the human man. This felt like it was the puppet in charge in the
Billy?
worst way possible.
His
Yeah.
name is Billy.
I know his name is Billy. I was just saying the puppet because saying the puppet is funnier.
Now we have Q&As. And these come from our TikTok Q&A. However, you are also always welcome to reach out to us on other platforms. We love getting your questions. But we're going to do a speed round today. So without further ado, let's go. The first one comes from capt.rex.66.67. Which are each of your favorite members of the Bad Batch? I will go first.
Omega.
Okay, well, damn, I guess I won't go first. Jess and Omega. I say Hunter because I love him.
Omega.
I say Wrecker, obviously.
Omega.
Wow. This one comes from Just F This 01. Who is the most emotional, intelligent member of the Bad Batch? I think like emotionally intelligent. I will say Omega, but if we're talking about the adults, probably Wrecker.
I have the same answer.
Yeah, I have the same answer.
I mean, I am a Wrecker stan, but yes.
The next one is Rex. If Rex is allegedly a natural blonde, is Hauser natural gray or is it Box?
It's Box.
I also think it's Box. I think it's very funny, the idea of him asking the Syndulas who have no hair to help him dye his hair.
I'm
watching
just
them
saying
be like,
he bought that thing from Walmart that's like add flecks of gray to your hair with a little comb in it.
Touch of gray.
No, I think it's natural because B God Ryloth has stressed him out that much.
Just for men, Hauser. Just for men, user Hauser.
I also think it's natural just because war is stressful.
So here's the thing. I know this is supposed to be a speed round. We're supposed to be fast about this, but at the beginning of this podcast, like the day before we recorded the first episode, one of our first conversations we had as a group, maybe it was Ollie and Jess. I don't know, but this is what was happening. I was trying to dye part of my hair gray to make a MILF Tarkin joke, and I'm not kidding you. That was what I was doing. You can see the parts where I bleached my head, and the gray did not keep in my hair. So I do think that it is natural because I like to think that Hauser and I have similar hair textures.
This last question comes from Daredevil is not cis, which are, what do you think / headcanon the Bad Batch's sexual identities and sexual and gender identities are?
I have a very speed round answer to this. Tech is a heterosexual. Crosshair is a heterosexual. Everyone else is gay. Moving on. I'm done.
Don't slander Tech like this. Leave him alone.
not
No, I'm sorry.
true.
Tech is
It's not slander if it's true.
sapiosexual.
Ollie, I was gonna make that joke.
Also, Hunter is a he/him lesbian. So I should
Correct.
clarify that when I say gay, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Also, Omega is trans.
Period. Yeah,
Period.
canonically. I will also add, I think, the addendum that all of them also use they pronouns in addition to he. I think that's also always safe to say.
I would say that about literally every single clone, to be fair.
I would agree. I feel like Jango Fett DNA just has the he they energy.
It's because the Mandalorian part, but then also I'm thinking
Yeah,
about
'Cause Din
Jarrett
also.
and Sarah, or they're just like they, them, plural.
Not twins being, not everyone who shares DNA being like Tarek and Sarah being like we.
Okay.
Well,
I'm so sorry. I'm
speaking
so
like
sorry.
we.
You know the we irritating meme? That's Tarek, Tarek and Sarah.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, so those are our Q&As that I have for us today. Thank you so much for playing along. As I said, our Q&As are open, so if you guys have any questions or anything you want us to talk about, drop them in there and we'll be happy to take a look.
Now, it's time for our favorite segment. It's Name That Ship, where we read the description and the tags for a fic, and the other hosts have to guess what ship it is. Remember, this is all in good fun, no bullying. We don't think that all fan fiction is valid and transformative fandom is a very good thing. We are just here because the things that we have found tell such a story, and we want to share them with each other in the most brick over the head way possible.
In honor of the Bad Batch being over, I did scour through the Bad Batch tag to find this fic. The title is Truthfully, Truth Needs No Explaining. The tags are Crystal Horns, Prison Break Freeform, Alternate Universe, Kyber Crystal Halos, Kyber Crystals Star Wars, Accidental Cuddling, Marking, War Crime Husbands, Strangers to Lovers Speedrun, First Time, Crosshair deserves all the Crosshair deserves all the softness in the world, fight me, Rare Pair.
I was gonna guess Crosshair, so that's good.
Is it Rampart?
No, it is
Bad
not.
Batch is it a Bad Batch
crab.
character?
It is not a Bad Batch character.
Are
Is it
they
is it a
Clone
Jedi?
Wars?
Jedi?
Clone Wars character, not a Jedi.
Ooh, is it Hondo Ohnaka?
No, it is not.
Damn it. I think that
Have
would be
they
very
been
funny.
in live action before? Or
No,
just...
they have not.
Okay,
Well-
so
Oh,
The person.
Hmm.
No, I can't give that away. Actually,
is it
Fuck.
Yari?
so it's
No, it is not Yoro.
they said not a Jedi.
So not a Jedi, not
That's
a.
true.
That's
Please
the only
God,
reason that it can't be
I hope-
real poof.
I hope not a clone.
Not a clone. Not.
Oh,
Clone,
thank
though.
Christ.
Are
That would never
they
bring clones
force
back.
sensitive though?
Yes, they are.
Are they a
Ventress?
Sith?
It's not Ventress.
Savage!
Is it?
It is
Mo-
Savage Opress.
Oh god.
No. Savage hair is a lot.
Are you ready for the summary? A crystal demon, the guard says, and it catches Crosshair's attention immediately. They're keeping him in the highest tower.
That does sound like Shrek. Like,
Not Shrek at you, Crosshair Savage.
Is Crosshair Fiona or is Crosshair
No, it's
Shrek?
Savage, because I assume Savage is the
Savage is the-
crystal
the
demon,
crystal
in the
demon in the
tower. So
tower.
that's Fiona.
Oh,
So
so yeah,
Savage
so
is Fiona.
Savage is Fiona.
Yeah, and
I think that makes sense.
Maul and Mother Talzin are his family from Shrek 2.
Not them being the king and queen.
Okay, well, so nothing's gonna compare to that. What I have for you today is, it's not the ship that's crazy, it's the concept. It is a series, and I'm trying to figure out how to tell you this because there's not really a ship involved. So, here's what I'll say. Right now, it is incomplete. It began in last May, and it was last updated this month, I believe 2 days ago. And there is one fake per Star Wars movie.
And so what are we guessing if there's not really a ship?
So, okay.
Or do you just want to tell us about this set of fan fiction?
Here's the thing. So, okay. So what I'm going to have you try and guess is, what AU retelling is this?
There are so many AUs. Could you give us a couple options to choose from?
I will. Hold on. Lord, that's going to give it away real quick.
Lorde AU?
The way I was literally just about to unmute to say
Y'all
that,
need
but I
to
wasn't
stop.
fast
Is
enough.
it the AU
Okay.
where they're stoned at the nail salon, or
Is
the
it- or is
AU
it-
where they're sober?
Is it the AU where they're where they photosynthesize and are built on solar power?
Is it the AU where they have a mood ring?
This is a retelling of each Star Wars film.
The Green Knight.
No. Involving a popular series of another popular franchise, a series of books.
Star Wars Harry Potter AU.
It's not a Harry. Is it a
And
Harry?
it's not Harry Potter. But it is in that vein of children's books, etc.
Okay, is it a children's book or is it young adult? Or like teens?
I guess this series would be considered children's.
Fuck.
Okay, I do feel
The
like
High
Claudia's
Republic.
dropped us into like a fucking saw trap.
Okay, so my first thoughts, sorry to interrupt you, Noah, but my first thoughts were like Narnia or Percy Jackson.
My first thought was
No.
also Percy Jackson.
I also thought cats, not cats. What is it called? Warrior cats.
Yes!
What?
Yes! Okay, it is a complete retelling of Star Wars as warrior cats. So, this is a retelling of the popular Star Wars franchise as warrior cat style stories. Turmoil has engulfed the clans of the Great Gathering. The regulation of travel and hunting between territories is in
Are
dispute.
they cats?
Hoping to resolve the matter with a blockade, the greedy cats of Field Clan have stopped all travel to...
Wait, this is the plot of the Phantom Menace, but with cats. Fuck me.
the peaceful territory of Forest Clan. While the tribe of Gathering endlessly debates this alarming chain of events, the tribe's leader Lionstar has secretly dispatched 2 Light Clan warriors, the Guardians of Peace and Justice, to settle the conflict. They've gotten through A New Hope. They've done
Oh my
they've done
god.
3 movies, and A New Hope
many
is the
words?
one. A New Hope is at 32,000 words. Revenge of the Sith
Oh
is
my
at
God.
75,000 words.
person who's
Attack of the Rogues
writing
is-
these fics, I
the
applaud
Rogues?
you. You're so powerful.
No, they are full retellings. So, and they're gonna do all the. I can't wait for the Rise of Skywalker as Warrior Cat.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for RuPaul's Pod Race. Episodes usually drop on Sundays. For updates, Star Wars news, and more curse shit, follow us on social media at RuPaul's Pod Race on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, sometimes we go live on TikTok, so be on the lookout for that. And if you really love the show, please rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts, even if you don't use as your podcatcher. It really helps us out. Also, we love hearing from you. What do you want to see from us until the Book of Boba Fett comes out, now that the Bad Batch is on hiatus until next year? So send us questions in our TikTok Q&A, tweet at us, or send us an email at rupalpspodrace@gmail.com. May the force be with you, and don't kriff it up.
Waka
Waka waka.
Waka.